I think we're good to go. So, with that, I'm going to pass it over to Derry to kick us off.
Happy Friday! Yay!
Woo!
So excited. Do we got some pom poms going on here? I forgot my props, but guys, this is my prop in my hands. Welcome to Digital Professional Development Fridays with our colleagues and Common Sense Media. Education. I don't know why I say media, but Common Sense Education. We're so happy to be here on another Friday, continuing our series. We have such a great program set for you today. I'm noticing that I do apologize. We had 2 Fridays that we did not send reminder emails, but we will have those standalone emails. So for our FLCs and parent coordinators that are here today, thank you so much. And family support coordinators. For FLCs, feel free to share today's recording with your parent coordinators. We're gonna send it out at the end of the week wrap up email, and we're gonna add the agenda. So if you did miss today's session, if any of your PCs missed today's session, we will send it out at the end of the week wrap up email. All right, so I'm Derry Rodriguez, and I am accompanied by my colleague Diana Miller. She should be joining shortly. Diana and I will monitor the chat during the class. So if you have a question, any face question, please fill those questions to Diana. And we'll also have a form that you can fill out if there's a particular question you have for our presenters. I'm going to go into really quickly face updates. And as you guys know, oh my gosh, is next when we return back on Monday is November, and it's the kickoff of our Family Empowerment Month. So what does that mean? Next month you will have the opportunity to showcase what you're doing at your school community. If you would like for Faith to spotlight your workshop, please fill out the registration form that we will send out today, tonight, at the end of the week wrap up email. It's going to explain all the fun activities that we're doing. And also, some of our partners, our community partners, are joining us and providing some free accessible workshops for our families, including yourself as staff members. I want to just shout out some of our partners: Common Sense Education, Learning Heroes, and Inside Plus. And we do have Tom in a little while. He's going to go into what is Inside Schools and Inside Plus. So get ready to hear from Tom. Again, next month is going to be a time where we want to really celebrate family and school partnerships. So, what, like, again, we're asking parent coordinators if it's possible, if you would like to host a parent coordinator virtual coffee with your families. Face will provide the flyer that you can use and modify with our header. And we're asking parent coordinators to um, put together a workshop to talk a little bit about the New York City school account. And the last workshop, and this is what we're calling the Why Not Challenge. So if you are taking the challenge to go into to show parent, I'm sorry, to do a workshop on the three workshops that we're asking parent coordinators to do, then you're taking the challenge. It's called Why Not Challenge. That information will go out tonight at the end of the week wrap up. It's a one pager on how you can, what is Empowerment Month and how you can get started. So with that, I just want to turn it over to our wonderful, wonderful guest, Tom, who's going to share a little bit about what is Inside Schools and how you can take advantage of Inside Schools and some of the programming that they're going to be offering throughout the year. So Tom, I'm just going to just pass it over to you. Thank you so much.
Yep, that's great. Thanks so much, Derry. Appreciate it. Good morning, everyone. My name is Tom Lynch, and I'm the editor in chief of Inside Schools. And a lot of you might know Inside Schools from work over the years where we provide independent reviews of New York City schools and also a lot of tips and guidelines and support in terms of navigating the school admissions process. But what happened over this last spring, once all of the schools went remote and we started hearing from families, not just the usual questions around, how do I get into high school or what's the application process for kindergarten? We started hearing a lot of questions that were just like, how do I make sense of what's going on at home? How do I support my child? And so this summer, we spent quite a bit of time creating an online community for New York City families called Inside Schools Plus. And so I can share the link to you right over here. Thanks. As you can see in the chat, Holly just shared the link for Inside Schools. That's our core website where you can find, you know, over 1,800 school reviews and lots of different resources on navigating the New York City school system. And the new environment that we launched back in September, Inside Schools Plus, the link I'll send over in the chat right now. And so is it possible to share this screen? And I could show a little bit of what it looks like.
Do you mean this link right here?
Nope. So the link, the one I sent in the chat, goes to Inside Schools Plus.
Okay, 1 second here.
Sure. Yep. So this is the front door of Inside Schools Plus, and once you arrive there, you can click on join. It's completely free to join. And when you log in, you're going to find, and you can log in, as you can see, with like different social accounts. It can be LinkedIn, Apple, Facebook as well. When families log into the space, and we have about closing in on about 1,400 members to start. And remember, it's all free. When you log into the space, you're going to see kind of two main sorts of resources that we've started creating within this community. And the two main kinds, so we refer to it as like there's two sides of the street in Inside Schools Plus. Oh, there it is. On the one side of the street, you can see over there on the left on the menu, it says groups. And when you click on groups, what you're going to find are some of the kind of big groups that we have to help families kind of find each other and connect, to share information and to get different kinds of support. So these groups are not in stone. What we did is we surveyed lots of different families and got a sense of like how do they think of like the challenges they face, and let's create big groups to start. So we have admissions, we have pre-K families, elementary school, middle school, high school families. Some of the membership right out of the gate were interested in a dedicated D75 group because the challenges that they face in D75 are very, very different. It doesn't fall into the usual elementary, middle, high. And so we created a group specifically for them. And then if you join the group, which you can do, again, you can just click on join us. And once you join the group, what you'll see is, in this case, this is the D75 group. Theirs is pretty simple and straightforward because they're trying to figure out for themselves, like, how do we want to best use this space? When you click on and join some of the other groups, what you'll see is actually on the left menu. So if you were to go to the, like, let's say the elementary school families group, for instance, is a good one. If you click join us, thank you so much. And I don't know who's doing the navigating, but thank you so much. If you look over there on the left on the screen, you'll see topics. So if you click on topics, what you'll find is this is about the top like dozen or dozen and a half topics that we get asked about on Inside Schools all the time. So what we tried to do in advance is we tried to anticipate where people's questions were going to fall, and we set it up in advance. So some of the other things just to know about the groups part of the space. As I said earlier, it's not in stone. This is not about like the Inside Schools team trying to build something and force everyone into like a certain structure. We just try to give it enough structure to start so like it made sense and that folks could find each other. We've seen an uptick as the school year has been really rocky, as everyone on this call knows. But as things have been sort of like, there's been a rhythm, it's an awkward rhythm. But as the rhythm has been kind of playing out, we've seen a dramatic uptick in like engagement and people trying now to like a lot of lurking in the first month. Now folks are getting a little more comfortable and starting to post more and share more. And so one of the things that might be of interest to folks on this call, just to know for future reference, is that like if there are ways to use the groups side of Inside Schools Plus that would be a benefit to specific schools or districts, CECs, like whatever it might be, like there's different organizations within the system, we are more than happy to collaborate on that. So if you see uses for it or you have ideas, we had a couple of parents who were leading PTAs who were interested, for example, in like, what would it look like to set up, could I have a group for my PTA on here, for instance? We're happy to share what we're building, and we're happy to collaborate in whatever ways make sense. That's all under groups. So the other side of the street, as we like to say in Inside Schools Plus, if you'll click on Back to Network up there. Thank you so much. If you click on Home, that'll show us the main page. So this is, again, what you'll see when you log in. You'll see classes. So if you click on classes over on the left, sorry. There you go. These are some classes that we're offering right now. Let me explain a little bit. One of them has a price tag on it, so I want to explain some of that. So what we're doing with classes is we are working both internally and also with partners to create online classes that are specifically designed for New York City families. So the top class, for example, is called How to Support Online Learning at Home. And that's a class I designed over this summer, having talked with lots of teachers and families about like, what are the challenges of like working with your child at home when they're trying to learn online. And so I designed this course. It gives a little bit of background on how like the DOE is structured, how online learning operates and doesn't operate sometimes, what your school is in charge of and what they're not. But then it gives a lot of nuts and bolts help just in terms of like, here's how to make a schedule with your child and here's where to put your router if you're not getting sufficient bandwidth. Like it tries to cover a lot. It's completely free to take. There's over 200 people enrolled in it currently. We also designed a class on applying to New York City high schools during the pandemic. The price tag on that, don't let that dissuade anybody. We do have to fundraise. We're a nonprofit, and just like with other nonprofits, the pandemic has been hard on us. However, if you read in the description, what you'll see is there is a link that you can click on. There is a link that you can click on there where if the price tag on the class of $39 is too much, like just click the link, tell us you need the class anyway, and you get it for free. So we're not trying to put up like barriers in terms of the price tag. We also, as a nonprofit, we have to keep the lights on, and we're trying to come up with creative ways to do that in a really hard time. The final class that I'll just mention, which you also see on the screen, is Understanding Special Education Options. So you're going to see more of these kinds of classes coming out from Inside Schools Plus in the coming year. In this case, we partnered with Include NYC, which is a phenomenal nonprofit who does work with special education in the city. And so we worked with Include and their team to take one of their more popular workshops that they offer face-to-face, and we helped them translate it into an online setting and environment. And they launched it just last week. As you can see, there's about 80 folks have already signed up for it. This is totally free as well. All of this is very, very mobile friendly, meaning the platform we use to host the community is called Mighty Networks. You go to any app store, download Mighty Networks, and you can just essentially join the community through the app, but everything renders very mobile friendly. And it's free to download and all of that. One of the limitations for future reference is that it is only available in English at the moment, the platform itself, and also a lot of the content. So we're doing a couple of things to improve that. One is the company itself has on its roadmap, as they call it, over the next year, they intend to update for local language recognition in terms of browsers and things like that. That's out of our control. So that just refers to like the menu items that you see will be in English until the company updates their side. However, we do have plans to launch an En Español group in the coming month or so. We're also working with a potential partner to help us translate some of these classes into Spanish as well, and to actually create a core of Spanish-speaking facilitators and bilingual facilitators who can help really jumpstart the multilingual possibilities within Inside Schools Plus as well. So all of this is just the start. And as I shared at the top of my time, if you see ways that this can benefit your community, or if you find yourself saying after clicking around and experimenting a bit, like, oh, I wish it did this, or I wish we could do X, Y, or Z, that would really help my community out. Also, just reach out to us. That's all you have to do, and you can do that through the system by just searching for Tom in there, and I'll pop up, and you can message me, and I'd be more than happy to engage and to try to see if there's ways that we can support your work. So let me pause there, because that was a lot of me at once. And I know also we're tight on time. So thanks so much for listening. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Tom. And again, next month is all about family empowerment, utilizing our wonderful, wonderful community partners and organizations. So we will host a lot of our family empowerment information in the platform of Inside Schools. So thank you so much, Tom, for that opportunity. And before I turn it over to Laura, I'm just going to quickly share with you guys the flyer of the Learning Hero workshops that kick off next week. If you click on the link, that is our Learning Heroes workshops. So please, please, please invite your parents, invite the family. It is in we have four. One is in English on November the 3rd. November the 4th is all in Spanish. November the 10th, we will have translators in 4 different languages. And then also in on November the 16th. So please have your family sign up, join with your families. And we have a parent coordinator workshop with Learning Heroes next week at 11 o'clock. That is my announcements, and I'm going to turn it over to Laura.
Thank you. So we are actually going to quickly pivot over to Tali from Common Sense, who's going to share some updates as well.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. And I also just wanted to say I really appreciate Tom as a New York City DOE parent learning more about Inside Schools. So that was great. Hi, everyone. So I know I presented last week about Common Sense's free resources for engaging your families. I just wanted to share an update on nycschools.wideopenschools.org. I'm going to pop that link in the chat. And Laura, if you don't mind opening that up, and you might already have it. Perfect. Okay, great. I just wanted to share on Wide Open School, we're now featuring fall festivity activities, and these are going to be continue to be updated. As a reminder, these are all free, high quality, engaging learning resources. And we have over 85 partners. So when you click on any of these links, it takes you to the partners website, but you can see we've got a lot of safe, fun Halloween activities. You can, thank you for opening up this one. This is from PBS. We'll continue to have ones for Thanksgiving, and then as we go into the holiday break as well. And the last thing I wanted to say about it, if we go back to the site, is just a reminder at the top that you can filter by age range. So right now it's open to grades 3rd through 5th, and that's the link I'll put in the chat as well. But you've got different activities for middle school, high school, preschool, K through 2, and we've got offline as well as digitally based activities, and everything is free. So thank you so much. I'll turn it back over to you guys.
Thank you. And I just want to say thank you to our partners, Tali from Common Sense, Tom from Inside Schools. You know, that this is what we need right now, right? Like, it's so hard to do this work on our own. And so we love when we get partners who are helping us, who are providing really awesome resources. And, you know, most of these resources, I think with the exception of that one that Tom shared, I mean, most of these resources are free. And, you know, I know from the teacher side of things, that's always the magic word. All right. So
And shout out to our parent coordinators who came dressed up today.
yes, yes. So that brings us to who's in the room. I'm going to launch our poll because we always like to see who's here and what's happening. So 1 second here while I get our poll ready. All right, so you should see that poll live. So we want to welcome everybody, find out who's in the room. We know we obviously have many parent coordinators, but hopefully we've got some FLCs, some FSCs, our teachers, school secretaries, if you're an administrator. And then if you happen to be you know, someone that fits into that other category, please feel free to share in the chat who you are, what you do, and how you support our New York City public school students and staff. So I'll give you a couple more moments, but it's looking like we've got a ton of parent coordinators here. So I want to welcome all of you. I know you could be doing a whole bunch of other things right now. Everyone is spread so thin, but you chose to come here and get some really amazing quality PD. So thank you all so much for that. I'm going to go ahead and end this poll. I'll share the results with you guys and move us to our next slide. Oh, not what I wanted. Which is to just check in with you guys. How are you feeling, right? So let me launch that poll. And I do want to say all feelings are valued. So if you are feeling tired, perfectly okay to feel tired, to be like, man, it has been the longest week ever. I tend to feel that way too. It is always every week. It's like, oh, this was the longest week. And then the next week comes and it's like, nope, actually, this is the longest week. So maybe that's you, and that's perfectly okay. But hopefully, we've got some folks who are feeling happy because it's Friday and you made it. We have to celebrate those small victories too. And I'll give you guys just a couple more moments to respond. And let's see. So I'm going to share this with you guys. And like I said, it's clearly we're all a little tired, but guess what? You're here. You made it. We've got a few more hours left before we can finally switch to weekend mode. So thank you guys so much for coming today, for taking part in our PD session. We actually have a really great PD set up for you today. We are going to talk about website evaluation. So let's go and get into this. If you can't tell, we love our poll. So I have one more poll for you. And then I promise we're going to be done for the polls until a little later. So want to know, what's your level of knowledge about accessibility? We've done some work around this. If you came to our session a few weeks ago, we did an intro course. So we want to kind of see where folks are on the spectrum, right? What do you know about accessibility? Are you kind of way up there like, Laura, I could teach these classes with you, girl, stop playing? Or are you somewhere in the middle, you've taken a few trainings, but you're feeling like, all right, I need some help? Or are you at the very end of the spectrum, we're learning about accessibility? That's a thing? It is. So it is okay. We value each and every one of these, right? So whether you're an expert, whether you're a novice, we want you to know whichever way you're coming into this work doesn't matter. We're here to support you. And if you were here for our intro class, then you know that accessibility is all about just reaching folks, right? And when you make really accessible content, you are going to reach the widest audience, right? And that means that you're going to be really inclusive. That's the whole name of the game, especially now when we are all remote, when everything is now being put out in some sort of digital fashion. We need to make sure that we're not putting things out that have those invisible barriers or those obstacles. So today, what we're going to be doing, I'm going to go ahead and end this poll for us, and I will share the results. Here we go. Today, what we're going to be doing is going over how to evaluate your website. So we know that many schools have a school website, and we know that many parent coordinators are either the webmaster or do work to contribute content to the school website. So it's important to know how to actually assess it for accessibility. That is what we're going to be doing today. So what do we mean when we're talking about website evaluation, right? We're going to determine the things on our websites that may be obstacles for people with disabilities. And then we're going to find ways to correct it so that we can increase that accessibility and inclusion. So we're going to start with 4 easy tests. Now, I'm going to be really transparent. I'm going to model this work on the DOE website. But what I want you all to do, who are folks on the call, I want you to right now open up a tab in your browser, preferably Chrome, because the stuff I'm going to be showing you is going to be on Chrome and some of it is specific to the browser. But open up Chrome and have your school website up. So if it's, a ps123.org, go there now. And then we're going to do these 4 quick tests that you see on my screen. We're going to do skip repetitive content, keyboard focus and navigation, zoom to 200%, and mobile responsiveness. All right. So those are going to be our 4 quick tests that we're going to start with. And again, I want you to conduct those tests on your school website. And I did go ahead and share those results. So we've got a lot of folks who are right smack dab in the middle, right? You've taken some training, but you certainly need more support. So guess what? You are getting it today. All right. So we're going to start with our first test called skip repetitive content. So like I said, you're going to open up that website and you're going to do 2 things. You're going to hit the tab key. And then you're going to see if when you hit the tab key, do you have a way to skip to the main content? You're going to then hit tab again, and you're going to see if you can skip to navigation. So let me show you what this looks like. Here is the DOE website. a little larger. Here we go. So I've refreshed my page, starting brand new page, and all I'm doing, I'm hitting the tab key. So watch what happens when I do. Notice how I've got this blue banner here at the top that says skip to main content. Now your banner may look a little different. It doesn't necessarily have to be blue. Maybe it's black, maybe it's yellow. It really doesn't matter what the color is, but you should see something that says skip to main content. When I hit tab again, oh, hold on here. There we go. I hit tab too fast. Let me refresh. All right, so it says skip to main content and then skip to main navigation. All right, I've hit tab and that's the only key I've hit. First time, main content, second time, main navigation. So you want to make sure you have that. Now you might be going, what's the big deal? Why do I need that? What do I care if I can tab and get to that? Well, I want to break it down for you. Not everyone that comes to your site is using a mouse to navigate. In fact, they may not even be using a desktop computer. But some folks with disabilities may be using a keyboard or switch only to navigate your site, which means that the way in which they're going to navigate is by pressing a button on their keyboard. So if you don't have the ability to skip to main content or skip to main navigation, right, then that means that certain folks are not going to be able to easily navigate your website. And that's not good. Remember, this is all about making sure that no matter who visits your website, whether they have a disability or not, they can access your content. So if I'm an individual that uses a keyboard to access digital content and I can't actually navigate your website's useless to me. So we really, really want to make sure that you've got these features on here. So just going to do a quick check in the chat. Hopefully everybody has this ability. Now, what I will say is these 4 tests that we're going to do really are platform specific. So if you're going, oh no, we don't have a way to skip to main content, we don't have a way to skip to main navigation, it's probably your platform. Many of our accessible platforms have this. So if you're hosting your site on eChalk, Wix, Google, Edlio, they typically have it. Some of our more inaccessible platforms, which include Weebly, don't. So if you're going, what do I do to fix this? There's usually, unfortunately, not a whole lot we can do, but it may be the signal you need to say, hey, now's a good time for us to switch platforms. So let's go into our, wrong tab, here we go. Let's go into our next test, which is keyboard focus and navigation. And it really is an extension of what we just did. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna keep hitting the tab key. And as you're hitting the tab key, you wanna see, can I always tell where I'm at on my website, or do I lose focus, right? Do I kind of lose where I'm at? Again, for folks who are going to use a keyboard or switch only to operate their device, if they don't know where they are, if they keep hitting tab and it's like, I can't see where I'm at, that's a poor user experience. So again, going back to my DOE website, and I'm gonna just refresh so you can see. I'm going to hit tab. So I've got that main content, main navigation, but watch as I keep going. Now do you see where I'm at? I'm at the get help, right? And I'm going to keep hitting tab. Notice how every time I hit tab, I know where I'm at because it's outlined, right? Every single time. Now, you're going to want to do this until you get all the way to the end of your website and back up. So basically keep hitting tab. I'm going to go a little fast, but you can tell I know exactly where I'm at. I see the outline, things are highlighted. Really, really important. Now at the bottom, I'm going over Notify NYC, accessibility, privacy policy, sitemap, and look, I'm back up to the top. This is what you want, okay? You want to be able to start at the top, go all the way through, get to the very end, and then end up back at the top. If for some reason you're doing this and you lose focus at some point, you're like, all right, I had it, but then midway into my page, I didn't, that's problematic. Or another thing that may happen, and we see this oftentimes with Twitter, if you have an embedded Twitter feed, do you get stuck in it? So right now, if we go to, here we go. So here are the tweets by NYC schools. We have it set up so that you only see the 3 most current tweets, but oftentimes the way schools will do this is they embed the Twitter feed. If when you get to the Twitter feed, you get stuck inside and as you hit tab, you're just going through each and every single tweet your school has ever tweeted, that's problematic, right? Because that means you are stuck in an endless Twitter feed. So if that's the case, you want to make note of that. It may be something that, again, will prompt you to change your platform, or you may decide, ooh, we don't necessarily want our Twitter embedded in our site. You can always link to it, but you may not actually want the feed if it causes your folks to get stuck. So like I said, you want to be able to get all the way down to the bottom and head right back up to the top. So that is keyboard focus and navigation. Again, this is really, really important for your folks who are going to come to your site and they are not necessarily using a mouse to navigate, right? For most of us, you know, when I use my computer, I am using a mouse, but we do have to recognize that not everyone is doing that. So that is why this is so important. All right, let's get into our third test, which is the Zoom test. And I don't mean a Zoom room. What we're going to be doing is we are going to zoom the screen to 200%. Now, as we do this, what we want to notice is, did all the text on the page get 200% bigger? Sometimes what will happen if you're on one of our inaccessible platforms, you'll see that like the stuff gets bigger, maybe your pictures, and some of the other attributes, but maybe your text doesn't get bigger. So you want to make sure, does everything actually get 200% bigger, including the text? And then as it gets bigger, can you still access everything on the page? Does stuff get cut off? We don't want that. So let me show you, like I said, with our DOE website. Now I am on the Chrome browser, so I want to be very clear about that. If you're on a different browser, zooming may look slightly different. You can go up to the top right-hand corner, click the 3 vertical dots, and then you'll see that zoom feature. Right now, my screen is set to 100%. I'm going to click the plus. Notice how I'm now at 125. Things are getting bigger. I'm now at 150, 175, and here is 200. Notice how everything has now expanded to fit. Things are actually 200% bigger. I've got, you know, my whole menu has increased, the images, everything is 200% bigger, but it's all still there, right? And I'm going to scroll so you can see, everything is still there. Now, here's something interesting. Remember those tweets, right? Those tweets were situated on my screen horizontally. The 3 tweets were right next to each other laid out. But because I've now increased my view to 200%, those tweets are now presented vertically. But notice how the content is still there. So things may shift. You may notice, oh, something that was horizontal is now vertical. Things have moved, but you just want to make sure that it's still all there and it's still all readable, right? So everything on here, readable. Content is there. Nothing is cut off. We're good to go. Now, for those of you that were in our intro course, you know that for some folks, they need the ability to zoom. So that is why zooming to 200% is so important. Some of our folks, you know, their eyesight might be going bad. They just need content presented a pinch larger. So that is why that zoom function is so important. We want folks to be able to zoom into your content and for it to all still be there. If you're noticing things shifting to a point where it doesn't actually make sense or stuff gets cut off, again, that's usually signifying that there's a problem on the platform end of things, not necessarily anything you're doing wrong. All right, and let's now go to our final quick test. And this one, it's a little bit more complicated. So I have some screenshots showing, but this is mobile responsiveness. So what we're going to do is we are again going to click those 3 vertical dots in the upper right corner of the Chrome browser. Now, let me be very clear. We're doing this on Chrome. If you're on another browser, say the Edge browser from Microsoft or on Safari or Firefox, it looks different. And I'm so sorry, but I'm not going to be able to support you in finding mobile responsiveness on a different browser. So please stay with me on Chrome. Like I said, you're going to click those 3 dots, more tools, and then developer tools. Now, when you do that, it's going to bring up this really weird looking panel and you're going to go, whoa, this is super technical. And I will be very honest, I don't understand all that technicality. However, what you're going to do is you're going to click here where you've got like a smartphone on top of a tablet. That's the mobile responsive view. All right. So let me show you what this looks like. And actually, let me zoom back out. Nothing is more jarring than when you zoom to 200% and you forget to unzoom, and then you go back and you're like, whoa, it's really big. So do go ahead and zoom out, set it to whichever percentage you had before we were at 200. And like I said, vertical dots, more tools, and then developer tools. So notice how that really icky looking panel pops up. Ignore most of it. Don't be intimidated, because all we're doing is clicking on this toggle device toolbar. So when I click it, notice how I now have this different looking screen. In fact, up at the top, you'll notice that this says iPhone X. So what I'm doing is I am looking at the New York City Department of Education website as if I were viewing it on an iPhone. My mouse actually goes away. Notice how my mouse is now this like circle business. If you're wondering why, it's because if I'm using an iPhone X, I don't have a mouse, right? I'm going to navigate with my finger. So that circle is supposed to simulate your finger and how you would, browse. So this is an iPhone X. Notice how I can actually navigate, right, the same way that I would if I were actually accessing the Department of Ed website on an iPhone. And I'm scrolling just to see what it looks like. Now I can toggle between devices. So up here where it says iPhone X, where I've got my mouse, if I click that little caret, it pulls down a menu and I can see several different mobile devices. So if I wanted to see what this looked like on an iPad Pro, here is an iPad Pro. Or if I wanted to see what it looked like on a Pixel 2. The truth is you don't have to go through every single device. I had someone ask me that, like, am I checking for every device? No, because typically if your website loads really well on, say, an iPhone or a Pixel and it loads well on a tablet, you're good to go. But the reason we're doing this is, again, think about how your families are accessing websites. They're typically not going to access it from a desktop or even a laptop, which is usually the device that most webmasters use to create the website. But that's not the way that your audience is going to consume it. In fact, we know this to be true. So many of our families don't have desktops and laptops at home, hence those 350,000 iPads, right, that we had to send to families and their students. So we know that for many of our families, they are going to use a mobile device to access your school website. So you want to make sure that you've got that mobile responsiveness, that a family who comes to your website can actually access it on their smartphone. And I think we've all been on a website at some point or another where when we log in, we're like, ooh, this is clearly not optimized for mobile viewing. I guess I'm going to have to like check this out on my actual computer, right? That's I think an experience that many of us have had. So this is the benefit of being able to look at what your website will do on a mobile device. So I'm going to pause right there because I know I went through those 4 tests fairly quickly, but I want to make sure that folks were able to do those. So like I said, we'll give you some moments. We'll give you a moment to just respond in the chat. What have you noticed from just doing these really quick 4 tests? And you're certainly welcome to put like a thumbs up or say like, yep, got it. I was, my website passed those 4 tests. You're also welcome to say like, no, it didn't work. We don't have that mobile responsiveness, or, I couldn't always see where I was on my website, right? We don't have that keyboard focus and navigation. And I see, so Jesus, you're saying the tab doesn't work. Okay.
Laura?
Yes.
I would like to interrupt with a public service announcement.
Absolutely.
And I will put it in the chat as well. But if you are having problems, or if you think your website needs to change, we do strongly encourage you to come to our Beyond Access Forum, which is taking place on Election Day. It is a day where students are not in attendance at school. So it's a day that might be easier for you to attend. And we will have various platforms like eTalk and Edlio and Google, etc., as well as Laura explaining how to use our platform, how to onboard, giving you a free year for Wix, and all sorts of things. So there's going to be a lot of support that day, and it's free to attend, and I will drop the link to it in the chat.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Yes, absolutely. Plug that event. I will be there along with several of my team members, and we're definitely excited to go over these elements of accessibility with you. So I did see in the chat someone wanted me to go over this fourth test, and I will say this is probably the trickiest one, so I will try it again. If you have access, and we'll drop the link in the chat again, but do know that if you open up your phone and you scan this QR code, it will open up our presentation. You can also type in digin.nyc/accessible site webinar. It'll also take you to this. I know that I'm going a pinch fast. Totally get it. We've got a lot of content to cover, but I'm going to do this mobile responsiveness because, like I said, this is the trickiest one. And someone in the chat said, yep, this one I got lost. So again, going to your website, I'm modeling on the schools. You click those three dots, and again, this is Chrome. So if you're on a different browser, I don't know that this is the way to do it, but on the Chrome browser, the three vertical dots, more tools, and then developer tools. Now, the reason I have this screenshot, I'm just going to navigate back. The reason I have this screenshot here is because when I do it on my screen, it doesn't actually show you that I'm doing this, but I want you to see I'm clicking the three dots, more tools, and then developer tools. And then once you do that, you'll get this weird looking panel. For you, it'll look like this, and you'll have this weird panel. You're going to turn on this toggle device toolbar where my mouse is. It's that smartphone on top of a tablet, or like a rectangle on top of a rectangle. Just click on that, and that's going to allow you to see what your website will do on various devices. If you put it to responsive, it'll just give you essentially what it would look like on a generic mobile device. But this is what you're looking at. And again, the reason this is important is that we know many of our families are going to be accessing our sites from some sort of mobile or tablet device. They are not going to be accessing your website on a desktop or a laptop. And we have to understand that that's a very real thing. And so if your website isn't looking good, if you're realizing, oh, this responsive view, everything is shifted, everything is distorted, stuff gets cut off, I can't actually, access the information, that's problematic. That means that your community, your family community that's going to your website is not having a good user experience. They're accessing your site from their mobile device going, this isn't working for me. So that is why you do this test. All right, so let me turn that off. I'm going to click X out of here so that way I don't have that weird looking code stuff. Oh, and Kimberly, you're saying your Chrome browser has a white arrow and a red circle. That just means you need to update. So if you don't have the three vertical dots, you just need to update your browser. Go ahead, update, you're good to go. Don't worry. If you click on that arrow, you'll still be able to access that menu panel. All right, so those were our 4 quick tests. Again, they are more tied to the platform that you're using. So if you realize, oh man, we didn't pass, but we failed all but one of them, right? Or we're failing most of them, or we failed all of these quick tests. That generally is a sign that you will need to switch platforms. And I know that feels like a daunting task, but let me put it to you this way. If you've got a website where it's not doing these things, you're not able to have keyboard focus and navigation, you can't skip to repetitive content, you can't zoom to 200%, you don't have mobile responsiveness, then what I would argue is that your website isn't actually reaching your audience in the way you think it is. And if that's happening, then you have to make the change. So even though it might feel daunting, I'm telling you right now, many schools have switched over to a more accessible platform like Google, like Wix, like eChalk. And they are finding that it's way better, and it does the thing that their community needs. And remember, that's what the website is all about. Websites are not about you. They're not about the webmaster. They're not about the principal or the assistant principal. I know oftentimes that's the way it's seen, right? Like our website, oh, look at how amazing our website is. It's beautiful. I'm going to share it with the superintendent. I'm going to share it with this person. And you feel like a sense of pride because look at what we did. We made it. But again, if it doesn't pass these tests, your website is not passing muster. Sorry. So don't feel worried. Book us for a session. We can certainly help you and walk you through some of it. But like I said, it may be time to switch to a more accessible platform. All right, now let's get into our accessibility testing tools. So you're going to see 3 on my screen right now. But we're going to focus on the Wave tool and the Totally tool. The Wave tool is the tool that we actually use to assess your website for your school report card. So I really highly recommend the Wave tool. And then the Totally plugin from Khan Academy is another great tool. I find it very easy to use. I will say Siteimprove's tool is great. I'll quickly show it to you, but I think sometimes it suffers from being just a pinch too technical. So if you need something on the more basic end, like I said, use the Wave tool because that's what our report card system uses, and then supplement with the Totally tool. Latique was going to go ahead and drop these links into the chat. Let me open up Wave for you. So the Wave tool is actually a web page, but you can also download the extension. So I'm going to show you both. What I will say for some schools hosting their site on Google, if you copy the URL and put it here, you might get an error. So that is why it is recommended that you use the extension. Right here in the middle of the page, you'll see it says Wave Firefox and Chrome extension. So if you click on that, it'll take you to where you can download those extensions. I'm gonna, like I said, show you both. So I can copy and paste the school's URL and then click this little arrow to advance, and you'll see here it pulls up all of our information. So right now on the home page, again, it's only going to assess the page that you're currently on. So on the home page, I've got 0 errors, 1 contrast error, and 16 alerts. I'm only focusing on anything that's red and yellow, or yellow/orange. That's what the alerts pop under. I want you to ignore anything green, blue, or purple. Those are good things. So if you're noticing like, oh man, we've got a whole bunch of ARIA. ARIA is actually a really good thing to have. So don't get freaked out. And anything that pops up as an alert. Now this is, like I said, the browser version. Let me go over. Here's the school website again. Up at the top, I'm going to turn on my extension. It's this W here. And by doing that, now the Wave tool pops up. It looks almost identical. In fact, you're noticing I get the same results, but this is using the extension. And if I toggle back over here, this is actually on the Wave website. So in order to get some more information, I'm going to go into my details. When I click on my details, I'm able to see what's popping up. So I've got this 1 contrast error. Now I want you to know that contrast errors are the same as errors. Some folks go, oh, but I thought you only looked at errors and alerts. We do, but contrast errors are included in errors. So don't think you can ignore contrast errors. So I've got 1 very low contrast situation. Now, if I didn't know what an error meant, or I'm sitting here going, huh, what? Next to the icon for the low contrast, you'll see this little eye symbol. When you click on that, it'll give you this reference information. So it'll tell you what it means, why it matters, and how to fix. Now, the really important part is to focus on the what and the why. What I will tell you is that it's not really going to tell you how to fix. If I've got a contrast issue and I've got low contrast, well, obviously the how to fix it is to increase my contrast. But depending on the platform that you're hosting your site on, how to fix it may look different, right? You may have to go into different settings if you're hosting your site on Wix versus if you're hosting your site on Google or eChalk or Weebly or WordPress or any of them. So I don't want you to think that it's actually going to tell you how to fix. I will say that's something that you'd have to go into your platform and do a little research on. But it will tell you what it means. So right now I've got very low contrast between the text and the background color. And again, why does this matter? Well, adequate contrast of text is necessary for all users, but particularly for your users with low vision. So you can always go into the reference feature and that'll tell you what this means. So I do need to take care of my low contrast issue, but I also need to address my alerts. The alerts are very, very important. Now, they don't count as much as an error. They count for 1/5 of what an error counts. But like I said, they do count. And if you've got a ton of alerts and you're not addressing them, they will add up. And it can certainly mean the difference between, say, a 4 and a 5. So you do want to make sure that you are addressing alerts that pop up. So right now, I'll just show you this one because this one came up the other day. I've got justified text. So again, what does that mean? I'm going to click the I button. It'll tell me why. So fully justified text is present. So typically text is either left justified, right justified, or center justified. Those are the justifications that most websites have. However, sometimes you may have fully justified text, and we've all seen that before. It's actually very common in newspaper print. You'll notice that, they'll make the text fit a particular column. So things get expanded. But what that actually does is it really creates weird spacing between words and even letters within a word. You don't have that uniform spacing. And that actually can be really difficult for certain folks to read. It negatively impacts the readability. So you wouldn't want fully justified text. If you want something centered on the page, make it center justified. If you want something left or right, certainly do that. But fully justified text presents readability issues. So that is what it is telling us here. So again, you can do this for your website using the Wave tool. Again, you can use the extension, which would appear up at the top of your browser, or you can use the actual website. Either way, you're going to get the same information and you're going to be able to navigate and get the details and the reference information. All right, so let's pause right there because I know I went through a lot. Just want to make sure if folks have questions, please feel free, pop them in the chat. Again, the Wave tool is going to be a really helpful tool. This is what we use when we evaluate your site using our report card. And I'll show you that in just a moment. The next tool I'm going to show you is the Totally tool from Khan Academy. All right, so Latiqua, again, will drop that link into the chat. I'm going to click it here so that you can see. This is going to take me to the Chrome Web Store. Again, I have it installed, so it's telling me to remove from Chrome, but when you click it, it'll tell you to add it to Chrome. And what I'm going to do, going back here, I'm going to turn my Wave tool off, and I'm going to turn my Totally tool on. So the Totally extension is this little glasses icon. And when I turn it on, notice how it turns rainbow-like, and then down at the bottom left-hand corner of my site, hold on here, there we go. I get these glasses that appear. So this is the glasses, and now I'm able to look at my site through these different elements. So if I wanted to see, do I have proper heading structure? I've got it. So here, let me move this up here. So here are my headings. Everything is in green. Green is good on Totally. So I've got my heading structure. This is that H1 through H6 structure. Everything's nested. So notice how I go from a 1 up at the top. I go to 2s. Then I have my 3s. Because I have already gone from a 2 to a 3, I can go back to a 2, but it would be problematic if I went from a 2 to a 3 to a 5, right? Just totally skipped 4 and then went to a 2. That would be problematic, and you'd see anything that's problematic in red. So right now I've got proper heading structure. Everything is in green. Let me look at my contrast. Now remember, I had that one contrast issue coming up on the Wave tool, and notice how I have it again with the Totally tool. And with the Totally tool, I'm actually able to see it better. It has to do with this magnifying glass. It's not sufficient, and that's what it's telling me. I've got insufficient contrast ratio. Now, super technical speak, contrast ratio needs to be at least 4.5 to 1. So basically, this is not enough. It's a contrast ratio of 1 according to this. So that does not pass. Do know that the closer you get to 4.5, the less likely it's to be perceived. So 4.5 is like the minimum, but 21 is the highest level of contrast. So the higher you go, the better. So you'll see here, and if you look on this website, on the school website, you'll see it actually gives me the score. So right here, I'm at 12.61, pretty high, 12.63, right? But I've also got some slightly lower scores. Here's 5.13. Again, that passes, but it's on the lower end. So you can look at your website and see what the contrast ratios are. Again, I just have this one issue. It is this magnifying glass, and I absolutely should fix this. So this is something that our DOE team that manages our website would need to fix. But this is, like I said, the Totally plugin from Khan Academy. Right now, I'm going to take this off. I like to use both the Wave WebAIM tool along with the Totally tool, because again, it allows me to see. Sometimes I find with the Wave tool, it may be difficult to pinpoint on the page where the error or the alert is. So that's why the Totally tool can be nice. I know that specifically with that contrast error, I wasn't able to necessarily see it as well. Notice how when I try and find it, it doesn't necessarily pop up on this Wave tool, but with the Totally tool, I can see exactly where it is. All right, so just taking a moment to look at the chat and make sure we are good to go. All right. All right, I think we're good. I'm now going to navigate over to our report card information. So many of you may know that our office, the Office of Digital Literacy and Inclusion, our DIGIN team, we are now issuing accessibility reports. We've been doing this now for about a year. So in order to access, you will need to go to nycschoolsdigin.org. Again, Latiqua will drop that link into the chat. But when you do, it'll take you here. If you're new to this site, you're going to click register. The only thing you have to register is your DOE email. Now, this is not associated with your DOE account, so it's not the same as your Outlook password, or, I mean, it can be, but I'm just saying when you update your Outlook, it won't affect this. This is standalone. It does not tie into anything related to your DOE login credentials. So you can create a new username and password. If you are new to this site, you're going to click register. However, if you've already created a username and password, you can go ahead and type that in. And when you get logged in, you'll be here on the home page. Now you can search for your school. You can type in your school name or your DBN, but you can also look at some information by borough and by district. So right now our citywide average is a 3. Middle of the road, we're certainly making progress, but we've got a little ways to go to get to that score of a 5. 5 means school websites are fully accessible. Now notice it doesn't mean perfect. Can you have an error on your page? Absolutely. Can you have some alerts? Absolutely. But a 5 ensures that your site is pretty darn accessible, and that's what we're trying to do. So you'll see here as well, we have the website accessibility results by quarter. So pretty much a year ago today, we only had 2 districts sitting at a 4. We had D75 and Staten Island. Right now, we have several more districts: Access Schools, Brooklyn South, D75, Queens North, Queens South, and Staten Island. So we're certainly making progress and we're getting there, but we're not quite. So we really do want to encourage folks to take more accessibility sessions with us, to do that error analysis, which is what we were doing when we were looking at both the Wave and the Totally tools, and then figure out what on your site is presenting issues. What are the problems that are happening, because that's what you need to fix. So if when you did the Wave tool, right, and you ran the report and you see like, oh man, we've got a ton of alt text errors, or we have a ton of contrast issues, go to our learning calendar, take a class with us on that very topic, because we certainly break down these elements and will help you fix them. So that's how you can kind of boost your score so that hopefully your school is sitting at a 5. Now I'm going to show you a school, and they're actually at a 4, but they used to be at a 5. And I'm doing this strategically because for some of our schools, their scores went down this past quarter. We just pulled scores on September 16th. And you'll see right here, both in the spring of 2020 and summer, they were sitting at a score of a 5. They were very, very accessible. But for the fall, they are at a high 4. We know that schools may have slipped a pinch. We know that right at the beginning of September, so many things were coming out. Folks were updating their sites fast and furiously to keep up with the information that was being presented to families. And so maybe you weren't always making sure it was super accessible. We understand, we get it. So if your school slipped, not a big deal. Remember, we're going to continue to engage in this process of grading your site. So these are not set in stone. It's not like, oh, we're at a 4. Oh man. No, we're going to pull scores again in another few weeks. You're going to hopefully pull this up. So one of the things that you'll notice on our report cards is that you get your weighted score, and then you get your website accessibility grade. So what this weighted score tells us is you're essentially averaging about 5.5 errors and alerts combined per page. All right. And we want that number to be closer to this 0 to 3 range. If you're in the 0 to 3 range, that means that means a grade score of 5. And again, that means your site is pretty accessible. If you're not quite there, like I said, no big deal. You are going to get it there. You're going to do that error analysis, and you are going to see what needs to be fixed so that you can actually fix it. Because that's what this report card doesn't tell you. It's going to tell you the errors per page. It's going to tell you the alerts per page. But notice how it doesn't actually say what's the issue. It's not giving you a breakdown of, oh, all your errors are alt text, all your errors are contrast, all your errors are justified text. That's not what's on here. So this is where using that wave tool and doing some error analysis is going to be really key. All right, so I'm pausing here to just double check the chat. And I see some folks are saying with all of this information. So you'll get access to the presentation and slide decks along with all these tools that are being presented today. So I get it. You know, it's a lot to sometimes commit to. We all have a ton of meetings. I'm just glad that you were able to join for this amount of time. And, you know, I see a question about Sway being considered a website. I know that some schools have used it in that way. I'm actually not sure about that. So I'm gonna get back to you. Or if someone else on our team knows the answer, please double check me on that one.
I can help you with that one.
Thank you, Lisa. I was waiting for you.
So Sway is not a website as far as, like, I don't believe you would link that on the DOE school website page, but you can certainly serve as a website for your families, but it wouldn't be ranked in our report card site. But some schools use things other than websites, such as Sway, or they might use Facebook, a Facebook page. So that's fine if that's what works. Also, Sway can be made accessible and translatable, so it could be a good choice.
And I was just about to say that Sway, which comes to us from Microsoft, is definitely a very accessible platform. So definitely not the worst thing in the world if you're using a Sway. It's probably a really good choice for your school community. All right, so I'm going to navigate back to our presentation now that we've gone over our accessibility reports. Again, here's the score breakdown. I'm not even going to worry about anything 4 to 1. Our goal is to get you to a 5. That is what we want. Doesn't necessarily mean perfection, but it means that your site is really, really accessible. And that's what we want folks to create. So you've seen this report card. Again, we're at that citywide average of a 3, but hopefully by December 31st, 2020, we'll see this at a 5. That is really the goal. We're pushing for it. And we know that so many of our schools and webmasters are truly working toward this. But if you do need support, remember, you can always book us for a session. So let's see where you are in that accessibility continuum. Let me see if I can launch that poll again. So I'm going to relaunch, and let's see if we have been able to increase our knowledge. So if you were sitting at like a 1, hopefully now you're sitting at a 2 or a 3. Maybe you're like, okay, it's still a little fuzzy, blurry, but it's coming into focus. That's the point of this, right? We know that this can sometimes feel tricky and new, and we know that this doesn't always feel like the easiest thing. But what I will say is, with continued practice, it really does make more sense. Lisa pulled me into this work just about 2 years ago. And at first I was like, huh? Okay, sure. I mean, I'd love to learn more about this. I definitely didn't know about accessibility. I didn't understand why it was important. But once I started learning about it, and I started working with her and our team, it made so much more sense. And I can tell you right now, I know about accessibility and I can't go back. I can't make an inaccessible website, or I can't make things and know that it's inaccessible. It just kind of like drives me insane. It's kind of like, when you start learning, your spelling and your grammar, and you're a kid and you're like, wait, that looks wrong, right? I spelled that word incorrectly. I can't spell it incorrectly. It just feels funny. So hopefully that is where you're at, where you're feeling like, oh, it's not accessible. Yeah, that doesn't sit right with me. I want to make it accessible. And I'm seeing a lot of folks, we had way more folks at the 1 and the 2, and I'm seeing more folks at a 3. So clearly you're feeling a little bit more comfortable. I'm going to go ahead and end our poll and share the results with you guys. But it sounds like this was definitely helpful for folks to see what goes into evaluating your website and testing for accessibility. At this point, I do want to open it up. So if there are things that you still have questions about, please feel free to pop it into the chat. We also have a few moments, so if you want to unmute your mic, and if there's anything that's burning, you're like, I need to ask this team, please feel free to do that now, as we have just a few more moments in today's PD session.
Hi, I had a question. My name is Jesus Casado. I'm from Sunnyside Community Services. Do you guys offer sort of like one-on-one assistance where like you can sit down with myself or my team to go over some of the issues that I actually identified today through this workshop?
Yes, you can. You can absolutely do that with us. So Latiqua has dropped the link for our attendance, but she's also going to drop another link into the chat for our booking app. So if you want to sit with one of us, we absolutely do offer that. Like I said, Latiqua's going to drop the link, and you can book us for a session. And I will say, oh, there it goes. You know, our team is committed to helping and supporting you. And if you want to bring your team, we highly recommend that. We know that oftentimes schools have one dedicated webmaster listed in Galaxy, but you actually have a team that does this work. So bring your team. We will go over any issues that you want to go over and show you how to, amend those. So definitely make use of that. And like I said, Latiqua popped it in the chat. That link is digin.nyc/book. And you can select any one of our team members, and we can certainly help you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you. That's a great question. We know that accessibility is tricky, and that is why we absolutely offer that one-on-one support. And I'm so glad to see Clem wrote in the chat, thought I was further along, but you know what? Looks like I need more support. I'm joining you on Tuesday. So thank you for showing up, or committing to show up on Tuesday, I should say. It's going to be a great day. And while we have several tracks that are focused on accessibility, please do share it with other folks in your school. We've partnered with Library Services, the Office of Specialized Instruction, including the Dig-In team. So it's going to be a wonderful day of PD, and this is really for everyone. So it's for teachers, it's for parent coordinators, school secretaries, admin. I mean, pretty much anyone. We've got something on that day. And while we have a whole lineup for the entire day, even if you just come for 1 or 2 sessions, go ahead and register. The beauty of registering is then you have access to all the materials. Even if you're unable to join live, you'll have access to the recordings from sessions that maybe you weren't able to attend, and all of the resources that are shared. So it's going to be a great day. All right. So, and someone's asking about the title of today's workshop. Yes, this was website evaluation. How accessible is my site? I will pop that into the chat. And as stated before, you will get a follow-up email with all the resources that we shared today, the slide deck, basically everything that we've shown. So we know that this was a lot of information to go through today, and sometimes it's quick, but that's why you'll have access to this presentation. You have access to it now. Again, type in this URL here at the bottom, scan the QR code, whichever one feels easiest, but you do have access to it right now should you feel like, no, I'm not going to wait for your follow-up email. I need it now. I want to do this work now. That's how I am. That's why I'm like, I don't want to wait. I want to do this now. I'm fired up. I learned about it. So like I said, if there's any additional questions, please pop them into the chat. Again, we want you to be able to take our attendance. So it's at digin.myc/remote attendance. The name of this class is website evaluation. How accessible is my site?
And while you guys are filling out the survey, I just want to do a quick announcement. Again, if you joined us late, Family Empowerment Month kicks off next week. And we do have, to start us off this week, we have a few events, starting with the Learning Hero workshop. I dropped the link in the chat. Please share that flyer with your families. If you would like to attend the workshop with your families, that is a plus for us. The workshop, it's amazing. I actually did the run through. It's all about it's a very interactive workshop where families can ask questions, learning tips, and it's about building partnerships. So next week and this month is like, how do we ensure that our families know that we're here, and we are their partners, their teammates in this work. So please share the workshop schedule with your families if they can't
Where
meet.
is it, Derry?
I'm sorry, we have a question?
Yeah, you said you were going to put it on the chat.
Let me do it. Oh my gosh, I sent it to one person. Thank you. Here it is right here. It's called Learning Heroes. And we know that every parent is a hero. And I feel like I can wear my costume that day because it is a Superwoman costume. But please, 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 thank you, Raphael, for letting me know that it's not on the chat. But guys, it's Tuesday morning on election day, on a PD day. So we just want parents to get an opportunity because parent teacher conference guidance is also coming out next week. So you will have the guidance for parent teacher conference. And to kick us off, parents are able to go into a live workshops to ask questions on how to build positive partnerships on a virtual platform. Does anybody have any questions regarding that? I'm happy to take 2 questions.
Well, this accessibility stuff is hard. I have a person that's in charge of. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Go right ahead. It's
There's a
hard,
person
you know.
I have a
But
person
this is what
assigned
we're
to
here for.
do that. Can do I join the group to have them, check with this, or have them help me?
Yes. So, yes, everything you're saying, we know to be true. We know that accessibility, especially in the beginning, feels a little different. This is not work that maybe you're used to. You're not typically, you've never done this. Like I said, before Lisa brought me in, I wasn't adding alt text to my images. I certainly wasn't thinking about this stuff. But once I learned it, I knew I couldn't go back because I know that for so many folks with disabilities and even the folks on the fringe, remember I talked about in our intro class, there's a lot of folks that don't necessarily have a disability, but benefit from elements of accessibility, right? Folks that do need things zoomed in, folks that do need, stuff where the contrast is a bit higher so that they can perceive it better. So it's so, so important. But yes, it can feel difficult. And I don't want to discount that. That is a very real feeling, but that's why having a team and working together is so key. This work should not fall on one person's shoulders. We know that oftentimes there's one webmaster officially listed, but you have maybe 5 people working on your website. All of you need to get trained and share. And if someone's having difficulty, it's like, man, I've been racking my brain, I don't know how to do this. I took the training. That's when you're going to reach out, book us for a session. That way we can support you even further. But yes, you're not wrong in saying, like, this is tricky, I'm not sure. It's okay. It is tricky. I don't want you to think like, oh, this is supposed to be easy and I'm not getting it, so therefore something's wrong. Nope, it feels tricky at first.
Okay, thank you.
I want to validate those feelings because I get it. In the beginning, it's really tricky. And then sometimes, the Wave tool, you'll see an error and you're like, I've never seen that before. Like, that's really nitpicky. So what I'm saying is don't let that dissuade or discourage you. That is what our team is here for, and we will absolutely help you with whatever you need. We want all of our schools to be at a 5 because that means that your site is accessible.
Because I'm speaking up for right now. A few of my peers that I know, don't like to ask questions because they don't like to put themselves out there, but we're a little skeptical with, technology. And so, yeah, thank you. I appreciate this.
There are no silly or stupid questions.
Not at all.
Not at all. And especially when it comes to the tech stuff, I know, like, sometimes people feel embarrassed to say, like, I'm struggling with that, or I don't know. But listen, it's okay. How are you ever going to learn if you don't ask? So don't feel embarrassed to say, like, oh, we don't know how to do this. It's perfectly fine.
This is why we have our Digital Professional Development Fridays, because you start here, but we have extended, we have other classes that you can take that are more in depth. And, this is an opportunity for all of you to connect and network with other PCs, maybe perhaps getting together and sort of like talking to each other. How is it going? And encouraging one another. We are a community, and sometimes what I used to hear a lot is, I'm the only PC in my building. But guess what? You're not the only PC in New York City. We have about 1,600 parent coordinators, and we also have family leadership coordinators in your districts that are there with you to support your learning needs. And you have folks at Central, at FACE, who says, you know what, we would try to gather as much information to help you so that you can help your families in your school building. With that said, it is 11:19. Our time is up. I am sad because our Professional Development Friday is over, and thumbs up if you enjoyed today's workshops. If you have a reaction, let me see some reactions on the chat. I'm learning too. I'm sitting here like, oh wow. I can't wait because in November we have a lot of great workshops for you, not only at the Professional Development series. Actually, I am talking about the PD Fridays. We have a couple of new workshops that are coming up. Please stay tuned, check your emails. And then on Watch Party Wednesdays, we just got the confirmation and just saw my email. We're having a watch party with Deputy Chancellor Adrian Austin and some senior cabinet members who will give some welcoming remarks and also just congratulate you all for the amazing work that you have done throughout the year. But most importantly, through this pandemic, it's been hard. So thank you so much for all your hard work. Thank you for your dedication. And thank you for keeping our families connected to us, to the work, and especially helping them to help their children navigate learning at home. So with that, happy Friday. Enjoy, stay safe. Make sure to do something fun for yourself. Please do. That is your homework assignment this weekend. Find one thing that you're going to do for yourself.
Thank you guys for your support.
Bye, everyone.